In this pod, we'll explore Shakespeare's presentation of the character of Romeo in his play Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo is the only son of the Montagues. Shakespeare doesn't tell us his exact age, but he's probably around 16 years old. He's from a noble family, and even Lord Capulet speaks positively about him in Act 1, Scene 5, saying, "Verona brags of him to be a virtuous and well-governed youth." Romeo is sensitive and isn't interested in the feud that surrounds him. He's presented as a Petrarchan lover, a term that comes from an earlier Italian poet called Petrarch, who wrote love poems about an unattainable girl. It's this idealistic side of Romeo that has led to his name being used in modern times to describe a romantic lover.
As the play opens, Romeo is moping over a girl called Rosaline, who doesn't return his love. At this point, he's miserable. He asks Benvolio to teach him how to forget to think, and says, "I have lost myself. I am not here. This is not Romeo. He's some other where." This use of imagery and rhyming couplets suggests that his view of love comes from books that he's read. He likes to hide away reading love poetry, which is why Juliet says, "You kiss by the book," in Act 1, Scene 5. She means that he kisses expertly, but that he isn't original.
Though Romeo evolves and matures throughout the play, through his love for Juliet, he's still impulsive. This is first shown by the quick way he moves his affections from Rosaline to Juliet, telling the friar, "I have forgot that name and that name's woe," in Act 2, Scene 3. Other examples are his quick marriage and the way he immediately buys poison on hearing of Juliet's death. When he's banished, Romeo views this punishment as worse than death, and in Act 3, Scene 3, considers stabbing himself. The friar snaps Romeo out of his self-pity, telling him, "Thy tears are womanish."
However, Romeo does show restraint in refusing to fight Tybalt in Act 3, Scene 1. He tells Tybalt he loves him and asks him to be satisfied, even though this will damage his reputation in Verona. Juliet's love has had a positive effect on Romeo, but when Tybalt then kills Mercutio, Romeo wonders if his love for Juliet has weakened him. He says, "O sweet Juliet, thy beauty hath made me effeminate, and in my temper softened valour's steel."
Romeo's presented as intelligent and quick-witted in his verbal sparring with Benvolio and Mercutio, and by Act 2, Scene 4, Mercutio comments that Romeo has returned to his recognisable self. Mercutio says, "Now art thou sociable, now art thou Romeo." Romeo's command of language is seen throughout his relationship with Juliet, and this shows how his love for her is on a different level to the infatuation he had for Rosaline. In Act 2, Scene 2, he says, "Two of the fairest stars in all the heaven, having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return." This means that Juliet's eyes take the place of stars as they are so bright. Romeo uses a lot of heavenly and light imagery like this, such as comparing Juliet to jewels in Act 1, Scene 5.
Romeo's language becomes richer as his love for Juliet develops. In Act 5, Scene 3, in his lengthy speech at the end of the play, Romeo is presented as having a calm strength. He speaks of death as a person who's stolen his wife. He says, "Death that hath sucked the honey of thy breath." Even when facing death, Romeo is poetic. Romeo ends his role in the play with the words, "Thus with a kiss I die." This reflects Juliet's final words, "Let me die," showing the unity of the two lovers.
In summary, Romeo is a young man who exhibits extreme and often impulsive behaviour. But without this aspect of his character, his love for Juliet wouldn't be as passionate or unique.